All right, so the second or the first presentation of the session is also one of the candidates for the award of best paper. So for those who have the challenge to actually decide who is gonna win, please pay attention.
No pressure.
No pressure, yeah. And the title of the presentation, I think there is a word in the title that I'm not sure how to pronounce, but I will give it a try. So the title is Frequent, Scalable, and Global Use of Intelligent Onesies to Quantify Newborns' Spontaneous Movements in Natural Settings. And the speaker is Ossmy from Birkbeck University in London.
Yeah, it's
so
onesies, but yeah.
It's onesies, yeah. I had two options, and you know.
It was very close.
Anyway, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. So in this talk, I'm going to talk about 10 minutes about collaboration we have with University of Sussex, in which we use wearable sensors to quantify newborns' general movements in natural settings. So first, what are general movements? So without kind of being triggered by a sensory input, this neonatal nervous system generates a variety of kind of spontaneous motor patterns, such as kind of twitches, but also more complex movements called general movements. And they are present in two age-specific patterns. The first observable one are wreathing movements, which are observable around 2 or 3 months. They vary in intensity, speed, in range of motion, limb rotation. They give kind of an impression of kind of fluency and complexity. And then they kind of fade away, and we are being replaced by fidgety movements that are typically observable around 3 to 5 months. Those are kind of more tiny movements in the neck, trunk, limbs. And then those general movements fade away and are replaced by more intentional movement, reaching and grasping. So overall, general movements are kind of a really short window into the earliest visible signs of motor behavior. Okay, so infants are kind of uncalibrated creatures that don't really control their movement so much. Why should we care about that? Studies have shown that absence or abnormal movements, general movements, indicate risk for neurodevelopmental conditions. And specifically in the individual with cerebral palsy, but also clinicians have shown that abnormal general movements early in life, those infants have more likelihood to have neurodevelopmental conditions like autism. So they showed some link into kind of higher, more advanced skills. And general movements are also related to the idea of developmental cascades. So motor abnormalities very early in life are affecting kind of body-environment relations and sensory motor experiences. And then it reduces the experiences and subsequently affect development of cognitive or social and social communication skills. So there are different types of abnormal general movements. I'm not going to get into all of this. This is an example of poor repertoire, which means less variable movement, kind of more repetitive, very predictable, slow movements. There are other examples. And when we assess general movements, the typical way it's being done is there are 2 or 3 clinicians looking at the infant lie supine for 3-5 minutes. And then collectively, they decide whether it's abnormal or not abnormal motor movements. And there's one session in wreathing stage and one session in fidgety stage. And then if there is abnormal movements, the children are being tracked until 2 or 3 years of until the 2 or 3 years old. Usually the use is in Practal GMA. Here's a screenshot of that. So overall, it's quite a qualitative assessment. We have some challenges with it. So first, we don't have a lot of quantifiable data. There's more attempts in Peter Marshik's lab and others who show more kind of use of computer vision to evaluate general movements in a bit more quantitative way. But overall, the GMAs are snapshots of general movements. There are 2 snapshots. We don't really look a lot on developmental trajectory, how they evolve and how they change. It requires assessment of trained clinicians. Trained clinicians are expensive. And much of it is a bit subjective. So what is the level of variability? What is the complexity of those general movements? The aim of our project is to go a bit further to quantitative measures for GMA and not qualitative ones. And we do it in different levels of information. One level of information is video coding, manual video coding, where people sit down and look and are trained to look at those movements. The second level is computer vision, again, done in some other labs. And the third one is intelligent onesies, which is the focus of the preceding paper. We have a low risk cohort and high risk cohort for neurodevelopmental conditions. And intelligent onesies are basically onesies, full suit for infants with embedded wearable sensors. And they can remotely record, reach quantitative data like acceleration, angular velocities, magnetic orientations. And those are being used in the recent years in motor behavior, tracking motor behavior, automatic posture identification. There's a beautiful work by Manu Erkenson and John Franchak labs showing that. And our challenge in this general movement was to focus on the quality of data, to get scalable data, so we can get it on very frequent measures and around the world, and also to maintain caregiver convenience. Because I don't know how many people here have children, but when you go back from the hospital with your child, you don't care about general movements or recording anything. So there's this aspect as well, to be able to collaborate with those caregivers and be able to record. In the Baby Grow project, we send them a package, a box, more nicely packed than this picture, and we give them a yoga mat, onesies in different sizes, sensors, all the charging cables they need, and a Raspberry Pi, which is a small computer that can connect remotely to these sensors. And we ask the parents to record every week 5 minutes of the general movement. So they put the infant, lie down, the infant are moving. They're doing it every week from birth until 5 months. They continue to record them until 12 months, but this is not related to general movements. There are 2 tests, Vineland test at 3 months and 6 months. Those are tests that evaluate social communication skills, and we have throughout that year, after 6 months, also cognitive and perceptual tests. In the proceeding, we have 54 families around the world. Now we have 81. In the proceeding, we have 429 overall sessions, and now we have 1,473 sessions from, I think, 15 or 16 countries around the world. The data collections happen in the family house. All the parents need to do is just plug in a Raspberry Pi, and that's it. And the Raspberry Pi is connected to the onesies, extract the data, cleans the data, and send the movements to our servers at CBCD, and we analyze it there. The split to movements is we take all the sessions, and once there is no movement across all limbs for 1 second, that splits a movement. That considers a movement pattern. So we get more and more of those movement patterns. In the proceedings paper, we provide kind of first evidence of the connection between the general movements that we record and the subsequent skills like social communication skills. So what we did is we took all the movements that were extracted from all sessions, from all the infants, and we put it into an autoencoder. So what the autoencoder does, it just gets features of the movement across all the limbs that best explain the individual differences across all movements. I'm not going to get into this, but happy to meet anyone afterwards to discuss. What we get is all the kinematic features across limbs, across all infants. And what we did is we did a big similarity analysis where we compare each pair of movements across all movements that we have and got a big similarity matrix. And we clustered those all the movements into clusters that eventually this clustering process yielded 10 movement patterns that are, then we looked at when those 10 movement patterns exist in each infant and session. So each infant ends up with a vector of 10 for each one of those patterns, and how the likelihood of having that pattern in that session for that infant. And what we did is we used a convolutional neural network to predict the final scores that were evaluated later at 3 months and 6 months. There are 2 final scores, social scores and communication scores, and we predicted those and compared those to the actual final scores, and we got a very high correlation between the predicted ones and the real ones. We are now looking at a lot of different analyses that I don't have time because he's starting with these yellow pages. We're looking at developmental trajectories, how these general movements are changing throughout these 5 months. We're looking at how much these general movements change across individuals and how much they can show differences between low and high risk. Some of those children get to the age where they start being diagnosed, so we can start comparing this. And the last point is what I find it most interesting is to see how the different levels of information, where there's computer vision that gets more like the flexion and extension and movement in space, the onesies who get more rotations, accurate rotations, can be combined and complement each other and indicate something that we can see from manual assessments. So just bottom line with the 0-minute one. So we showed that general movements that are relevant to subsequent development can be recorded in scale globally using these intelligent toys. Parents quite love it. There's a real potential implications for general movement assessments because imagine you can just take a onesie for every newborn, give that few weeks and get some indication or some information about the emergence of neurodevelopmental conditions, and that will be can be a big change. I just want to thank our participating family and the Baby Grow team and the funders. And if anyone is interested in this work, please contact me in an email or website. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Questions? Yeah, there is one up there, one down there. Maybe we can start down there.
You decide, right? Yeah.
Sorry. Just the most efficient. Please. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you have any intuition, or did you maybe compare, there are baby monitors that have a camera, right? So and then we can do the automatic extraction of the movements from the video input. And compared to your IMUs in the onesie, do you have an intuition how that compares quantitatively for the GMA assessment?
So I think what we're starting to see is what I said, they are starting to be kind of complementary. So there's a lot of rotation movements that are really critical for general movement assessment, where you don't see it very well with computer vision. Again, if you have 3 cameras and you can do 3D reconstruction of the movement in computer vision, cool. But I mean, this is a phone in front of an infant. It's very hard to see small kind of the twitches and things like that, which you can get better with onesies. I think retrospectively, now that if you are going to have onesies and computer vision, I would put the sensors in those areas that give more information about the rotation. And the computer vision obviously give a lot more information about kind of extension, flexion, and space kind of movement. So it's kind of a competing, they kind of compete each other and complement each other, because if you just want to have onesies without the parents start to record videos, then just give them onesies and you get some indication. If you want to have that with a video, I would put the sensors in different places.
Okay, so we have time for one more question. Up there, yes?
Thanks. Yeah, very, very interesting work, very interesting talk, and I love that you're focusing on this topic because we know so little about it. Sort of a data nerd question. There are so many clustering algorithms and so many approaches. I'm wondering how robust this solution of these 10 clusters is, if you've looked into that, and also whether those movement pattern clusters can be distinguished from any sort of broader parametric sort of dimensions of movement, and if you have any thoughts about the sort of diagnostic relevance of those different sort of things, these categories of movement patterns versus more kind of parametric changes.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. First, specifically about this clustering, so we did it for the proceeding with the 420 something sessions, and then we did again after having more data, and we got similar clusters. Obviously, I think it's much stronger to embed the kind of longitudinal trajectory, like the developmental trajectory, into the clustering. So there's a lot of clustering methods that kind of embed longitudinal data in them, which I think is quite important, which we did not do at this point because we kind of didn't have enough kind of data to doing that. We're doing it now because we have more. And I think if we talk about robustness or the potential of prediction, even for clinicians, I think the key is how much data you get from each infant, and balance that with how much you get with, like how much infants do you have. So I think it's a kind of some sort of a balance which we still need to figure out, and for that we just need a lot of data. There's so many factors as well, like because it's globally, there's a lot of different countries here, and there's a lot of reasons why you see, especially later in the fidgety stage and so on, you start to see a bit more differences that might not relate to kind of for clinical reasons, and they are more related for the fact that these are different groups and different. So I think it's just more data in this case. I usually don't say that, but it's more data and more diverse data from different places in the world. It's quite critical for understanding how robust it is.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's clap the speaker again.